All right, we are live. What's going on, everyone? How you doing tonight? My name is Matt Jarbo. Welcome to 3 by Theater for the 16th of May 2019. It's the last show of the week, which I'm not going to quite lie. I'm not going to lie. Kind of looking forward to it. Kind of looking forward to it being a couple days off, right? Because there's a lot of content's been coming out of this channel this week. A lot of content. I've been putting out 6 videos a day, which I think is annoying people. And I don't think they like it, but it's fine. Cause like the only thing that cost me subscribers this week was spilling some of that tea on Game of Thrones. So there we go on that one. That was funny. The response to that's been pretty good, as I figured it would be. As when we talked about it last night, there were comments in the chat like, "Oh, you gonna get a lot of shit for that," which I did. But tonight, man, there's a lot to get there. I woke up this morning and thought to myself, you know what? It's Thursday. Not going to be a lot going on. I'll be able to get my prep work done, go check out John Wick Chapter 3, come back, do the show, hang out. It'll be a good time. And then, of course, my kid got a cold. And then I got a cold. And I didn't go see John Wick. And all sorts of other things happened. So it has been a day. It has been an absolute day. So let's get into it here. So then when we can get through the news and then we can get talking about everything else that's going to be going on with you guys, your comments, your thoughts, your opinions. You guys can call into the voicemail line, which is there. You can also email in if you want, which is there. We can get to that at the end of the news, the 6 news stories, which I'll get through as fast as I possibly can. And we'll have ourselves a good conversation in the meantime. So without further ado, let's talk about the news this broke today. And I'm talking about Chris Rock rebooting Saw. Those words are not really the words you wake up to and think, that sounds normal, that sounds legitimate, that sounds like a thing. But no, it turns out that it's true. According to Variety here, Chris Rock's rebooting Saw with Lionsgate. Now, Lionsgate, you have to realize, has gotten to a point where they, quite frankly, need something to work. Like, they have not really had a huge hit or hits like they did maybe 10 years ago and maybe up to like a couple years ago. Lionsgate is hurting. And so what better way to put some extra coin in their pocket? Reinvigorate the torture porn genre, because Blumhouse has been doing it to great success. And they're like, no, we started it. We started it with Saw back in 2004. It's going to turn 15 years old this year, which is just weird to think. So this is what the article says. Now, Joe Drake, who is the chairman of Lionsgate, said that who made the announcement today, says the movie will be released on October 23rd, 2020. So not this year, not trying to hit the 15th anniversary. They're going to drop it on the 16th anniversary because, you know, everyone really gears up for that 16th anniversary. You know what I mean? Like, oh, well, it's been 16 years since the original came out. I don't know about you. I'm feeling festive. But it says here that when Chris Rock came to us and described in chilling detail his fantastic vision that reimagines and spins off the world of the notorious Jigsaw Killer, we were all in. Saw is one of the highest grossing horror franchises of all time, and it's one of the Lionsgate's most successful film series. This upcoming film will still be as mind-bending and intense as the previous Saw films. Chris has conceived this idea, and it will be completely reverential to the legacy of the material while reinvigorating the brand with his wit, creative vision, and passion for classic horror franchises. I've been a fan of Chris Rock for a number of years. I still don't quite get it. I still don't quite get where his love of horror movies has come from. I mean, I know he starred in Grown Ups and Grown Ups 2, which could easily be equated to horror films. I get that. I understand that. But when has he ever come out and been like, man, the last Hellraiser movie, DTV, but DT my heart? You know what I mean? Like, when do you ever hear that? So that's interesting. But this is where it does get fascinating when you start looking at who is also working on it with them. The movie will be produced by Berg and Kulis and directed by Darren Lynn Bousman, who helmed Saw 2, 3, and 4. The screenplay is based on a story conceived by Chris Rock and written by Pete Goldfinger with Josh Stolberg. The movie will be executive produced by Rock, Daniel Heffer, and the original creators of Saw, James Wan and Lee Wannell. Now, the reason why I find this to be interesting on a good way is that Darren Lynn Bousman, who did Saw 2 and Saw 3, those were actually really, really, really good films. And Saw 4 surprisingly was interesting enough. Saw 5, 6, and 7 were but number 2, 3, and 4 were good. Especially number 2, I felt taking it out of the bathroom, putting it in the abandoned house was a nice spin on it. I thought it worked really well, and I'm interested to see what he's going to be doing, going back to this franchise and working with Chris Rock. Now, it says here, Chris wants to put his own spin on the franchise in the way Eddie Murphy completely put a fresh perspective on buddy cop films with 48 Hours. This new Saw is going to be an event film in the making for horror fans. It will have all of the twists and turns, hardcore layers that our fans expect, directed by one of the masters of the craft, and we cannot wait to get started. And you know what? That's a weird statement to make as well, right? This is going to have the wit and freshness that Eddie Murphy brought to the buddy cop genre with 48 Hours. I'm sorry. No one's going to look back at 48 Hours, albeit those movies were good. No one's going to look at those movies and think to themselves, that is peak Eddie Murphy, right? It's Trading Places, Coming to America, or Beverly Hills Cop. That's your choice right there. I wouldn't have said the 48 Hours, with the exception of one thing. Beverly Hills Cop played up the laughs. It was more of a lighthearted comedy, with the exception of Beverly Hills Cop 2, because Tony Scott took that shit dark. But 48 Hours was definitely hard R, definitely R-rated, and definitely was something a little bit different at the time. So, okay, I can kind of see what they're going for here, I guess. I kind of get the reference, but how many kids are going to sit there and go, man, I love the hell out of 48 Hours, yo? No one. No one's going to say that. But Chris Rock apparently is really happy to do this. And, if Jordan Peele can come off of doing sketch comedy and can move over into doing Get Out and Us and The Twilight Zone and tackling horror, then I think Chris Rock could maybe do it too. I mean, you know what they say about comedy? It's just tragedy plus time. So horror movies are all tragedy based. You add you wait 15 years, you go back and go, oh yeah, remember that time Michael Myers cut that dude's head off? Funny. Do you see the look on his face when he died? It was classic Bill. I mean, he's dead now, but it was totally Bill, Apex Bill. I don't know. We'll have to wait and see on this one. But when you hear the phrase, Chris Rock and Saw, and then also reboot, but I'm willing to give it a go because of the talent involved, and I've always liked Chris Rock, so we'll have to wait. We'll have to wait and see on that one. Anyway, let's take a look here at X-Men: Dark Phoenix opening up here in just a couple weeks. It's so weird to think that it's a couple weeks away. It was meant to open a few months ago. I think it was even meant to open last year at some point. It kept getting pushed and pushed and pushed and pushed. And Disney's like, look, this movie is coming. This movie is here. We've said to Fox, we're going to be obligated to play it. We're going to be obligated to release it. We're going to be obligated to take a financial bath on it. All the fans are out there saying, screw it, drop it to Hulu, put it on Disney Plus when it comes out. Don't release this in theaters. Just adapt the X-Men into the MCU. This is what we want. We don't want to wait 5 years. Don't do this. Don't do this. Don't do this. And a lot of, there's some X-Men stands out there that are like, no, this is going to be the greatest thing ever. This is going to be the coolest thing on the crib. It'll be nothing better than X-Men Dark Phoenix because, it's going to be the final movie in the franchise. All things considered, Days of Future Past should have been the final movie in the franchise. And then Logan after that, because Logan was clearly peak Fox X-Men outside of X-Men 2. Fight me if you disagree. But anyway, a lot of other people out there are also not wanting to see this movie because it's currently projected to pull in $50 million. $50 million for an X-Men movie. The Wolverine in 2013 pulled in $53 million in its opening weekend, and that was considered the lowest. And that had everything to do with X-Men Origins Wolverine 4 years earlier being bad. But the Wolverine was dope as shit, man. I love that movie. So this is tracking for 50 million. That's pretty low. Now, according to early estimates, the superhero installment is expected to have one of the lowest openings for any X-Men film. Dark Phoenix is finally coming. The long-delayed X-Men project is tracking for an opening weekend in the $50 million range, according to those with early access box office surveys. The big-budget superhero movie is tracking lower than other entries in the X-Men universe. Opening over Memorial Day weekend in 2014 was Days of Future Past with 90 million, but with a total holiday weekend box office total of 110 million. Also opening over Memorial Day's 2016 was X-Men Apocalypse, which only did 65 million, and that wasn't very good. Days of Future Past was great. Apocalypse was like, what the hell happened? You could tell they rushed that one out the gate. Now, longtime X-Men writer and producer Simon Kinberg makes his directorial debut with this franchise installment that sees Jean Grey become the Dark Phoenix, and it's going to see everyone coming back together. But it says here, the superhero feature was originally slated for November 2018 bow before undergoing reshoots and being shifted into initially February 14th before finally moving to June 7th. And so it's coming in after Memorial Day weekend, which, this article is like, oh, it's coming in after the weekend. But we all know for a fact that Memorial Day weekend for the past couple years has been just, to quote the French, terrible, right? Like we know it's been that bad. And so I actually think it's in a better position post Aladdin than anything else, because I have a feeling Aladdin, when it opens, is maybe not going to do as well. Although I have seen estimates that put Aladdin up to around like $90 million for the 4-day weekend, which is surprisingly good and far better than Dumbo. But then after that, Aladdin's probably going to end up tanking. But the thing is that when it comes to Dark Phoenix, I plan on seeing it opening night. I plan on seeing it. I've invested 20 years of my life, almost 19 years of my life into these characters, so to speak, or into this universe, and having it go out is going to be something that I want to see. And I'm okay with that. But I am also very much in line of saying, just don't release it and don't take a hit financially in that regard, and just sell it to Netflix or drop it on Hulu or do something with it. But they're hoping to make the cash back. However, I am curious if the reshoots at the end of the year, if that had anything to do with the incoming, Fox Disney merger. Now, it's entirely possible. Now, okay, well, the thing with that is that they wouldn't really be able to like work on it, I think, officially or something like that. But they could have found a way, now that Disney owns it, in the editing bay to make it work. And we do know already that the multiverse is a thing based upon the Spider-Man Far From Home franchise trailer. So if that's a reality, I am wondering if this movie is going to end with some kind of multiverse portal being opened and some tie-in to the grander MCU. I'm not going to hold my breath for that. I'm not going to sit there and go, oh, darn shucks, release the MCU cut, if that doesn't happen. Not at all. But I think it would be, I know they want to redo everything, but it also doesn't it kind of feel like a bit of a waste? That's the whole point here. That's what I think audiences are not going to respond to very well with this one, because they know what's coming. So what's the point of investing into this movie if you know that this doesn't matter? There's no sequels past this with this universe. This is it. It's done. It's finito. That's why it's tracking as low. Now, that could be wrong. And the early reviews coming out give it high marks and people get hyped up to go see it. And they decide to kind of, give a nice send off to the X-Men franchise that we've known and loved for 19 years. And then it ends up grossing more money. We don't know that. But it's already a couple weeks away, and the early estimates are tracking it to be the lowest one ever. And I think that if it opens real low, even Disney, even though they announced New Mutants for April of next year, they might dump New Mutants on Hulu, because at that point, just to be done with Fox's movies. Legion is finishing up, getting a third and final season. They canceled The Gifted, which is unfortunate. And anything could happen, but you can tell audiences know what's coming, and they're clearly not interested in seeing what this movie has to lay down, which is going to suck if it's actually pretty good and ends up getting ignored because people just don't want to emotionally invest, which, again, is an entire possibility. Let me get a drink here while you guys take a quick look at what's on the screen. So, Captain Marvel We're talking about Captain Marvel, not Brie Larson, but Captain Marvel. Oh wait, I'm on the wrong. There we go. Right one. I don't know what happened with that one. Hit the right one. So there we go. Technical errors aside, Captain Marvel, not Brie Larson, but Captain Marvel. What the question then becomes, and a lot of people have actually asked this of the Russo bros, with Captain Marvel having grossed $1 billion leading up to the release of Avengers Endgame, why is it that Carol Danvers didn't play a larger part in the movie? People are legitimately asking this question because they're legitimately curious. And I have to actually kind of respond with my own legitimately curious question. Do y'all got brain damage? Why would you ask that question? Why would you legitimately want to see more of her character? Not even the character specifically, but it's like, it's not about her. All things considered, you could have removed almost all of Carol Danvers from this movie and then released her origin story after the fact, and nothing of value would have been lost. But according to the article here, the Avengers directors explain why she didn't have a bigger part in the movie. Finally kind of laying down a little bit of that truth, right? Finally kind of laying down a little bit of that truth about Captain Marvel and why she wasn't in Avengers. And again, people have legitimately been asking these questions, and I'm still trying to figure out why. It's pretty apparent. And the Russo brothers explain it in the best way possible, saying here that the directors of Avengers Endgame have explained why Captain Marvel didn't have a bigger part in the recent movie. The superhero, who was played by Brie Larson and whose real name is Carol Danvers, spent most of the film's runtime in another part of the universe. And as I previously stated, nothing of value was lost. Now, the Russo brothers have cleared up her lack of involvement. Speaking to Empire, Joe Russo said, "It was a story about the original six. That was the focus of the film, to conclude a 10-year saga about those characters. And Carol's a fairly new character." Not even, I mean, like, fairly is, I think, even an understatement. She is remarkably new, incredibly new, 6 and 7 weeks later type new, like a new kitten, like new, still new. And people really wanted her to play a bigger part in the movie. Why didn't Captain Marvel get a bigger part? Because she showed up at the end and single-handedly took out Thanos' ship and then held on to the gauntlet and was surrounded by all the other female Avengers for no real reason, because she can't be touched until Thanos, pulled off the Power Stone and then, Hadoukened her in the face with it, which then knocked her off camera. And we didn't see her again until Tony's funeral. So, like, that was it. You could remove that and find another way to shoot that scene. And again, nothing changes. Nothing changes. This is about the original six characters, the people we have an emotional investment into, the characters we have an emotional resonance into. We don't have that with her. Not yet. I'm not saying it's not going to happen. It could entirely happen. But trying to push for this character right away just made so little sense to me. Now, Anthony added that Captain Marvel had no depth of relationship with the other characters in the film. On that one side, it's an opportunity, but also when you have a story that's this size and you have to work with an economy of storytelling in order to maximize the journey of the movie. Because Carol was starting from scratch with everybody else, you needed to do more work on a storytelling level. Now, they're 100% right with this one, but, and I'm just going to be a contrarian here because I can kind of toss it out there. What you have is a situation where 5 years had passed, and they clearly had been working with her for 5 years, and they clearly had established that relationship. If you want to know what would have been better than a Captain Marvel origin movie, is you don't even give her an origin movie. You just introduce the character and you have her solo film take place during those 5 years with those Avengers. Now, that comes out maybe after the fact, or maybe, it'd have to come out after the fact, but it comes out after the fact. And then it's like, oh, now there's that emotional connection. She's worked with these people. Her and Rocket clearly had a vibe going on. They had a bit of friendly banter about the haircut. So there was that. And it's one of those elements, too, where you're like, that's what you do. But instead, you write this very bland, straightforward film that is not terrible, but not great. And it's very mediocre, very middle of the road, very safe, very play by the numbers. And you have this character who's so overpowered that it takes a Power Stone punch to the face in order to register any kind of actual impact. I don't know. I mean, it just, again, boring character. Now, Joe continued to explain that the character being elsewhere in the film highlighted just how big the MCU is and just how big its superhero jobs are, saying, "We love this idea that there are thousands of stories going on, and Carol, because of her abilities, is constantly in demand." Well, can she stay out there then for a while? To stay out there for a little while longer until they can find someone who can write a personality? That'd be fantastic. Now they also said here that apparently Endgame is going to have a different Black Widow storyline. But I'm kind of happy with the way things turned out on that particular front. But when it comes to Captain Marvel, she was in the movie just enough. In the beginning, a little bit later, and then in the end. And that's it. And that's fine. It wasn't her journey. It wasn't her story. And if they would have tried to shoehorn her in, if Kevin Feige would have tried pushing for that, I think the movie would have been lesser as a result. And I think that it wouldn't have gone on to do as much money as it did. I could be wrong because Captain Marvel grossed as much as it did, right? It grossed as much as it did in the first 4 weeks. And it was even number 2 post Endgame, 357 million for Endgame, 8 million for Captain Marvel. That was the number 1 and number 2 spot. So obviously it benefited from that, but I'm glad what they did with the character. And now I hope that Kevin Feige takes a step back, looks at the abstract of who Carol Danvers is and goes, okay, we need to clearly have some more personality here, because it's not like Brie Larson doesn't have personality. She's written so terribly that the personality just gets lost. And I can understand that in the context of her film, why personality gets lost given the Kree training for 5 years and all that stuff. I get that. But, she then went away for 20 years and came back and only had maybe 2% more personality, right? If we're playing a game in D&D, someone better roll a crit, because if not, her next movie, I don't think it's going to gross as much. I don't know why that's funny to me, but it just is. Anyway, let's talk about Robert Pattinson. Robert Pattinson is the man of the hour today, folks. He's the man of the hour. Everyone's talking about Sparkle Boy. Twilight Sparkle is what you can call Robert Pattinson. And people might sit there and give me a little bit of crap for that and say, Matt, come on, that's not fair. 2008 was a long time ago. Those movies are done. Those movies are dead. Those movies are over with. And he's a good actor. And you know what? You're right. You're right. But that doesn't mean I'm not gonna give him crap. I worked at a theater during Twilight, during pretty much all the Twilights. I think with the exception of like the last one or something. Okay, I've had to sit through that. I've had to suffer through that. All right, I got a chip on my shoulder. I got beef. But it's not his fault. He did best what he could with the material that he was provided, and the material was bad. It was objectively bad. I mean, here's the thing. Twilight couldn't be made today. Just as a real quick side note, Twilight couldn't be made today because as soon as that scene popped up where Jacob the wolf is all like, hey, your infant daughter, I imprinted myself on her. So when she gets old enough, we gonna bone. And then 3 weeks later, she's almost like of age. You know what I mean? Like you got a grown werewolf man boy who comes in and wants to have sex with a baby when she gets old enough of age. I'm not trying to put nothing out there, but still, that was in the movie, right? I'm pretty sure that if this was made today, there'd be Me Too articles all around it. But that's my beef with Twilight. Robert Pattinson, Nicholas Hoult are a top shortlist for the Batman. Now, this is where things currently are with that, right? Where things currently are with that is we don't know. Is it Robert Pattinson? Is it Nicholas Hoult? Who is going to be the new Batman? Everyone's reporting that it's going to be Pattinson. I've seen like Armin's from Comic Book Cast go out there and make this really impassioned call to it. Like, no, give him a chance. Twilight was a long time ago. He's not going to sparkle in this one. I mean, I even on Twitter joked as soon as the news broke. Like, Batman doesn't freaking sparkle. Because I'm going to have a little bit of fun with it. But here's the thing. Looking at this picture here of Robert Pattinson, he's brooding. A bit more hardcore than Edward Cullen, right? And then Nicholas Hoult just got done playing the Beast. And he's been playing the Beast for the last 8 years. So I can't see him as Batman. It's not to say that he's not a good actor. Man, I freaking loved him in Warm Bodies. And if you haven't seen Warm Bodies, you're missing out on a really funny movie. And also, he was fantastic in Mad Max. So he's a solid actor. He's a very good character actor. And I'd like to see him do a lot more. I really want to see Tolkien because I heard he really knocked it out of the park on that one. However, when it comes to the Caped Crusader, when it comes to the world's greatest detective, I don't really see it. But Pattinson, he kind of looks the part. He does. He kind of looks the part. Now, it says here, Matt Reeves is getting closer to naming his Batman, while a report declared that Twilight Saga star Robert Pattinson had been set for the Batman. Deadline here is that the filmmaker and Warner Brothers haven't gotten to that place yet. Pattinson is on a short list, but so is Nicholas Hoult, who stars in Tolkien and is about to open in the X-Men First Class film Dark Phoenix. We'll keep you posted as this unfolds, but several sources say right now that the bat suit isn't filled yet, and likely, and that they, like both guys with Pattinson holding the edge, both are Brit-born. We're playing Wales-born Christian Bale in the last freestanding trilogy. And then what we're learning about here too is that the movies are going to end up being shot here later on this year is when the rumored production start date is supposed to begin. And then, of course, from there, going on and coming out next year. So clearly, we're like 2 months away from Comic-Con. Warner Brothers always has a very large presence there on Saturday morning. This is going to be a big part of that. They are, in fact, going to announce the Batman before then and also the full cast and bring everybody out for a quick, hi, everyone, we're making the Batman coming out in 2020. And that's what they're going to do. That's what they're going to do. And that's fine. That's how the marketing game works. But what I'd like to see them do is to keep it right now between the two of them. Keep it between the two of them for a while, but the news is already really. I would like to see them announce it completely at Comic-Con, you know, keep everyone waiting with bated breath for 2 months, right? Everyone edging on the edge of their seat, like, oh, I'm in a nut, and then they can't because it's not there yet, you know, like kind of a tantric release sort of thing. And then they announce it at Comic-Con, that would be a big story. But they're not going to hold it for 2.5 months. They're just not, or 2 months. They're not going to do it. So it's probably going to be Robert Pattinson. They want a guy who's in his early 30s. They want to tell a younger story of Batman, and that's great, and that's fantastic. It does allow them to do a trilogy over the span of the next couple years and not have to worry about the actor getting too old. And we'll have to wait and see where this kind of ties into things. I'm hoping that he does good. You know, the guy's a solid actor with a good director. He could be really good Batman. A lot of people were really against Ben Affleck as Batman. You can go back and find my videos from 2013 when they announced Batman v Superman at Comic-Con and me coming out and supporting Ben Affleck as Batman all the way back in 2013. It's been 6 years and I still stand by those comments because I still supported him back then. And I'm very bummed that he's not being able to do it now. So at least we're going to get something with Pattinson, something with Batman. I'm okay with it. I'm okay with it. I just hope that it's not Twilight. I'm sorry. I know I shouldn't say that, but I hope that it's not Twilight. I just really do. I just really, really, really do. All right, let's talk about Marvel for a second again, right? We're gonna hop, skip, and fart over to Marvel for a hot second because I totally screwed up my programming for this evening. But when it comes to Disney Plus, when it comes to the Marvel shows, people have been really asking the question, just exactly how is it going to all work out? If you've seen Endgame, you know what happens, right? Like, you know what happens. They didn't really switch anything up involving Vision. He's still dead, but WandaVision has been announced as a show. Hawkeye is going to get a show, I guess somewhat training Kate Bishop is kind of what I've been hearing. Loki is going to get a series, and now that Loki's magically alive in another timeline with the Tesseract is a very interesting way of looking at it. And then, you know, we got the new Captain America, Falcon, but he's not going to be Captain America. He's still going to be hanging out with Bucky doing their thing on these limited event series. And it's all cool. I'm all down for that. But then the question becomes, how are they going to integrate it? And Kevin Feige did, in fact, give a little bit of a tease for what they are trying to do. So it says here that the Marvel Studios boss gives a bit more specific on how Disney Plus shows will connect to the MCU. And when they say a bit more specific, they're literally saying a bit more specific here. Now it says but a little bit of history is good on this particular front. But when the first wave of Marvel Cinematic Universe TV shows launched back in 2013, Marvel promised it was all connected, except that it didn't seem to be that way. ABC's Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. was at first affected by the MCU films, but that relationship was strictly one way, and now the show more or less seems to take place in its own timeline. And the now canceled Netflix shows, kicked off in 2015 with Daredevil, were notable for having almost no connection whatsoever to the films, which is very, very, very true. And the reason for that, and I always like to bring it up, and I always like to remind people that it's not Feige. Feige tried. It was all Ike Perlmutter. And the difference here is that these shows going to Disney Plus are not going to be produced through Marvel TV. Jeff Loeb, who kind of runs Marvel TV, is going to be involved in it, but Marvel TV's parent company, Marvel, is not going to have any involvement. It's all going to be under Marvel Studios, under Kevin Feige, and that's the way it's going to be. Because here's the thing, like I said, you know, say what you will about Captain Marvel. When the two movies that they're releasing this year proper come out and in the first, 5 months of the year and gross $3 billion, Bob Iger is going to give Kevin Feige whatever he wants. If Feige wanted a handy J, well, looking at the Oscar, he won for Black Panther, Iger would, facilitate, right? I'm just saying it's like, that's, how indebted really to Feige Iger is. I think without Marvel, Disney Plus wouldn't be a thing. I mean that legitimately. The money that they're pulling in, the popularity from those movies is going to be a major draw. These shows are going to be a major draw. So during a Reddit AMA yesterday, Feige was asked by one user, how much will Disney Plus shows weave into the films? And his answer was totally and completely. Now, beforehand, he had said that there were going to be ramifications that we would see in those shows play out in the films, but totally and completely does give me hope for what they are trying to do with it. Now, again, we don't know what that is just yet. We don't know what timeline is going to play in now that quantum mechanics have entered in. The quantum realm is now a key player. They now have the ability to recreate Pym particles and make the jump to literally anywhere in time that they want to go to. There are things that they're going to be able to do. So I really do question how they're going to go about it. But I'm sure no matter what happens, we're all going to be pleasantly surprised. We're all going to be pleasantly happy with it. And we're all going to look at it and go, this is good. This is worth the $7 a month we're paying for the subscription. And the thing is, as long as these shows do well, they'll keep producing these shows with these characters and these actors playing them. Once their contracts kind of start to wind down, they'll move them to Disney Plus, where they'll probably get a nice finale for the character if they don't get one in the films, and they could be used as a lead-in to the next Avengers films or the next big setups or whatever. So it's a really interesting way to finally have it all be connected. I just hope that by 2022 we hear the announcement, oh, by the way, we're also going to be doing Daredevil, and bringing back those shows now that the 2-year cooling off period from Netflix is finally over with. I don't know if that's going to be a reality at this point. I'm really hoping that it is, to be honest with you. I really am. So yeah, let's talk about Batwoman. Let us talk about Batwoman. So the full on trailer dropped for the new series today. The trailer dropped for the new series, and it right now on YouTube is number 3 on trending, and it's, man, I tell you, the best way I can describe this trailer is bad, right? It's pretty bad is what this trailer is. It looks better than most of your Greg Berlanti produced shows, because, the Arrowverse type stuff usually looks pretty good, or it looks TV-ish, but this has nice looking cinematics, even though some of the up close stuff does look a lot like a TV show, like what you would see on Arrow for the most part. But other than that, it just looks bad. And not just because of Ruby Rose and her portrayal. I mean, like, even look at what we're looking at here. It's just like, the acting looks bad. The lighting looks kind of iffy. The sets look kind of crazy. And, then of course you got the attitude here from her. And obviously we're going to see a lot of what's going to be happening with her character. We get the lesbian situation here, which again, I have no problem with that, by the way. A lot of people out there might be complaining, oh, it's going woke because she's lesbian. I don't really care about that at all. Love is love. Love who you want to love, provided they're of age and is consensual. And that's where I stand on a lot of issues. I don't care about that, period. I don't want that to be an issue. I'm afraid some people might make it an issue, but what they will make an issue on is very, very, very much, very, very, very much the lines that she uses. Because, I mean, I will say, though, the violence in these scenes do look pretty good. When she's fighting a lot of guys, it looks pretty good. And this is all from the pilot episode. This whole trailer is cut strictly from the pilot. You can tell by looking at it that it's going to be either from the first episode or the first 2 episodes, where we get introduced to her as a character, whoever this character is, the bad guy, the bad woman, all the other characters, her love interest and all that kind of stuff. and there's going to be a lot of fighting. And it looks like they are trying to emulate a lot of the Daredevil fight scenes from season 1 and season 2, where like a lot of close quarter fighting, and they want to really kind of make it visceral in your face. And I actually really appreciate that. I do appreciate that they are going for that type of aesthetic. Ruby Rose it does look like she can in fact hold her own, but that line right there, like, I'm not really good in like, rules, like, oh, that's kind of dumb. That's kind of bad. You shouldn't say that sort of thing because it sounds really stupid. This scene here in the Batcave is kind of dope because she gets to see the bat suit for the first time, and then it's pretty great. But then, this part right here is so bad. It's literal perfection. It will be when it fits a woman. Why? Like, oh man, it's just. I get it. This is the problem with this kind of stuff is like Cassandra Cain's character cannot be alive, cannot live in her own world without there being an agenda. That's the big problem here. I will say that shot's cool. That shot looked dope as hell. Again, they are going for a lot of effect, but then you got the hero is here. Oh, then what is it? Oh, it Captain Marvel's it to her. Oh, there we go. There we go. That's that's good. That's grand. That's great. We're doing that one again. But hey, you know what though? Here's the thing. You know why they did it? $1.14 billion in the first 4 weeks. Captain Marvel, $1.14 billion in the first 4 weeks, and they're taking a play right from the same marketing tactic. But I will admit though, this trailer far, far, far better than the first Captain Marvel trailer. But this one here is interesting because she's like, I'm not gonna take. They think it's me. I'm not going to let a man take credit for a woman's work or whatever. And it's like, okay, just really. And then we got the shot here of her in the shot, and it's like, it looks piloty. They're gonna clearly update the suit and everything else as time goes on. But they are putting the show out on Sunday nights, which is going to be a good time zone or good time slot, because the Sunday night television has a tendency of becoming the water cooler shows for Monday morning. They take over social media dominance on the weekends. I mean, it's a good place to put it. And it's going to, lead into the week of Arrow this season is going to be coming out on, what is it? It's going to be coming out on the same night as The Flash for the last couple episodes. Then you got Supergirl and Legends of Tomorrow and Black Lightning, and now this show. So they really have kind of overdone it for the Arrowverse on the CW, but apparently it's been profitable. I know people are going to sit there and say Batwoman's woke, but this was always to be expected. It doesn't make it any easier. The dialogue is terrible. I hope it's just a trailer. I really do hope that they tone that down and they let these characters just exist in their own world and have their own problems and have their own lives and their own sexualities and their own identities, but it doesn't become like something you get beat over the head with, because it does appear that a lot of other people are going to get beat over the head throughout this entire show, and that's fine. But they run the risk of alienating a decent part of the audience, and they do. They run the risk of alienating those people, and we know for a fact that if you are part of the Get Woke Brigade, you don't necessarily buy the products. You don't buy the products. You don't buy the comics. You don't see the movies. I mean, the vast majority of people who went to go see Captain Marvel were men, right? The gender breakdown proved that it was like over 53% men went to go see that movie. And again, you're going to get a lot of people who want to see a Batman TV series now that Gotham is over, and they're going to tune into this. And if it's too much over the head and if it's just too heavy-handed, they're going to tune out. Greg Berlanti has created a massive universe, a very successful, profitable universe inside of DC for the CW. And I don't want to see him, ruin it by trying to get far too politically woke. Just tell the story, let the characters exist, let the characters have their flaws, hint at those flaws, talk about those flaws, but don't do the over-the-top rhetoric, the over-the-top dialogue, because if you do that, you're going to push out a lot of people, and you're going to then create a negative narrative that a lot of the bloggers are going to then pick up on, and then that's going to dominate everything, and people aren't going to be talking about your show. They're going to be talking about the story. They're going to be talking about the controversy, and that is going to ultimately end up hurting you in the long run, because in the interim, you're like, oh man, we're getting all this attention. Everyone's talking about us for a long time, but then it goes away. Whereas with Arrow, there's been ups, there's been downs, but it's had a consistent fan base. The Flash generally is met with very positive reviews. Supergirl is met with very positive reviews. It kind of wavers on a little bit of that woke side, but it's just a couple. It was whatever Supergirl's comments were counteracted by Clarissa Flockhart in the first season, and it made it funny. There was that balance there. So if there's no balance here, again, you're just going to screw things up, and it's only going to negatively impact the show in the long run. People don't want politics in their escapism. Not directly. Indirectly is what they want because they don't want to think about it. Once you stop and make the audience think about how the script is or what they're trying to say, the message is right there and you hit them in the face with it, you lose them. That's how it goes. You want to tug on those emotional heartstrings and do it in a subconscious way. That's one of the reasons why right-leaning stuff is so impactful and effective in those regards. They know how to tug on the heartstrings. And the left has a lot of trouble with that. Don't do that. Don't be those people and tank your show before it has a chance to be the first live-action Batman series since the 1960s. All right. Sorry, that was a lot. Why not just do her reel right here? Yeah, I know, right? Okay. I saw that there was a super chat that came in. Let's see here. Little Crown, Dr. Sexy, $8 Australian. Thank you so much. Do we really need a reboot of torture porn movie? The answer to that is no, we don't. We really don't need a reboot of it. And but again, like I said during that segment, Lionsgate has not had a lot, like ever since the last the last Hunger Games movie came out, they have been hurting. They just have not been able to nail it. Even Mockingjay Part 2 didn't do as well as they wanted. Then they were like, oh, we're gonna, what was it? Was it Summit was doing Divergent? And then they did Divergent and Allegiant, and then that they were breaking the last book in the two movies. Then Lionsgate picked them up, thinking, "Oh, this is going to be the next big thing." And then the fourth film never even got made. The story never got closure, and they wanted to turn it into a TV show. That's the big problem with these companies, with Lionsgate specifically, is they just don't know what the hell they want to do at this point. So there's that. But I'm not against seeing it. If it's good, it's good. If it's good, it's good. I'll check it out, to be honest with you. So, all right, let me just do something real quick here. All right, hold on. There we go. Okay, I have to create a highlight of all the news stories so I can clip them out a little bit later. So let's see what we got here. All right. Wait. So was there a troll or something like that was coming in? Did I miss that? Is that what happened here? Let me just move my chat over. There we go. I can read it now. How does one become a mod? Hang out long enough, Batman, and it will happen. So there's that. I'm just kind of going through the chat here. All right. Okay. Well, I don't see anything direct. Is there anything directed at me specifically? Because I'm trying to pull that out. All right. Oh, okay. I just found all the deleted things. Okay. Cool. Now I figured that. Okay. Now we go. All right. Just more the Campy. Wait, what about Campy as a shill? Oh yeah, there's a guy in my Discord. He's a nice guy, but he comes in all the time and he's just like, John Campea as a shill. Like every day. Just gets mad watching John Campea. I don't see how you can get mad watching John Campea. I think he's a Canadian. How mad can you get talking to a Canadian? Somebody was calling you a robot, so they earned themselves 5 minutes in the corner. Yeah, I kind of let you do your thing. So let's see here. In the comics, she has a wig and she has short hair. Okay, so he's talking about that one. Let's see here. Okay. Cthulhu Wayne says, I'm never here for the live stuff. I just unsub and resub way too often to become a mod. Well, I just started doing the live stuff. Doing it Monday through Thursday is the tentative schedule for right now. Mostly because I'm busy Friday nights. And then I want to like break things down to a schedule. So do the news like Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. And then have the videos drop in the morning. Although, man, like 6 videos, it's a lot of content. I wish I didn't have to do that. But even the replays of the live stream are probably just going to be on an unlisted playlist. And then I'll link to that on the website, 3bucktheater.com. And a lot of that has to do with the fact that YouTube does not like short videos paired up to long videos. They like, it's one or the other. So if you've got a long video and it only gets like, let's say 10, 12 minutes of watch time, which is kind of what these shows get in the replay, because people skip around and whatever else, then that kind of, because it's an hour long, it starts to, the percentage watched goes down. And so it ends up being a different thing overall. So yeah, there's that. Let's see. Is Campia a Disney shill? I don't think that Campia is a Disney shill. I think Campia is a businessman, and he's definitely access media, and that is something that gets a little bit different. Oh, that's weird. That's something that gets a little bit different as time goes on, when you do this job. So he needs to maintain relationships. And I'm sure there are things that he wants to say that he can't say. And anyone who works in this industry as access media, it's true. They kind of pull their punches sometimes because they kind of have to maintain the access. That's the difference between people like myself who aren't access media, who just talk about stuff on the internet, can say how we feel about things. I like a lot of stuff. I'm just naturally, I just naturally like a lot of stuff. And Campy is kind of the same way, but he's also he knows how to play it. Like when he came out and he did that anti-Kathleen Kennedy video, that was a big move. That was a bold move, a ballsy move, for Campia to do, because he's personal friends with Nathan Hamill, which is how he gets into the Star Wars, red carpet stuff, how he gets to go to the premieres. He knows everybody. And that was potentially, cutting him off at the wrist and whatever. But then a lot of other people talked about it and ended up becoming a story. And he did it in a way that was not like 100% like an attack, but it was kind of a softball ease into it. And then talking about the Rian Johnson story, I guarantee you, he's like, oh, my source close to the matter was probably once again Nathan Hamill, because his dad would know what the hell is going on. So, the petition, I did talk about the petition for Game of Thrones last night. I guess now it's over 500,000 or whatever. There was a tweet I saw about that earlier today. Someone was like, just write fan fiction. Just write it. And I even said this too. I said this too. I think I figured out why people are upset about Game of Thrones. People are upset about Game of Thrones because you had the books as reference points. So when the story deviated, or when the show deviated from the books, you still had that straight and narrow path, right? You still knew what you wanted to do. You still knew where things were going ultimately. Then that goes away. So people had their headcanon, right? They had their headcanon, and that got all sorts of messed up, and they don't know what to think. And so what they had established in their head, where they thought things were going, the expectations that they had themselves had made, it turned into this bigger issue because it went maybe a different direction, or it didn't do it fast enough, or it did it too fast or whatever. And it just messes everything up. And then it's one of those things. It's that. Rachel says Matt tends to be inconsistent when it comes to live streaming. I'm trying to be consistent Monday through Thursday. I mean, I am very much trying to. So there's that. So let's see here. Hold on. Yeah, he won't get invited to Star Wars premieres if he doesn't suck Disney off. I don't think it's that much. You don't have to suck him off, but I think you maybe got to feather the balls a little bit. So, let's see. He knew at that point everyone hated Kennedy Johnson. Osiris, he was like the first person to come out. Oh, no, it was Jeremy Johns talked about it. And then I think he felt safe to talk about it, right? It's one of those things where someone like Jeremy Johns is bigger than John Campia. Jeremy Johns knows everyone in Hollywood too, and they work together on Collider. So if like Jeremy Johns comes out and says something about it, then it's like, oh shit, I can come out and say something. So yeah, there was that. So I was wrong. It wasn't Campy was the first person to bring it up, but he definitely was the person I was most surprised who brought it up. So there's that. The Last Jedi was fan fiction, if only. If only. Okay, Anthony. Why are you concerned about the HBO trailer for Watchmen? I've watched that so many times. I think it's great. Season 8 of Game of Thrones feels rushed. Hey, dude, 6 episodes, man. I would have loved 8 or 10. I think they should have done a full season. I agree with that point completely. But man, last week's episode, I was like edge of my seat the whole time. Like, she's fucking nuking everything. What is she doing? It was great stuff. So let's see here. Colin Trevorrow should have stayed. I agree. Let's see here. Wait, hold on. YHHR is, but I don't know what that is, Batman. You can't use those kind of summarizations on me. I'm old and don't get it. Lurking Elmo, you and balls. I make jokes about balls. Deal with it. Let's see. Do I have faith in Star Wars going forward with the new writers? 100%, dude. 100% I have faith in it. I think, it's funny too. I was watching Campia this morning and, it was a video from yesterday, but he talked about like the Star Wars and where it's at, where it's going. And he goes, oh, but that new animated, very forgettable show, that's on Disney. And I'm all like, dude, Resistance is dope. It's for kids, but like the way Resistance season 1 ends ties directly into The Force Awakens. And it's a solid show. I really liked it by the end. I really liked Time for Star Wars to Die and move on to Indiana Jones. No. The Watchmen trailer I like because it didn't give us a lot, but it gave us enough. It gave us enough to go off of, where it's like the vigilantes are like, I think the Rorschach cult are people who are against the society, from Rorschach having been killed by Dr. Manhattan and his notebook having then kind of exposed everything. And I think that 30 years down the road, they kind of worship him and they believe maybe in the anarchy and chaos that he kind of believed in. He believed in like chaos with order to some extent. I mean, I don't want to like misrepresent it. It's been a long time since I've read it or watched the movie, but that's the vibe I got, that like he was kind of like chaos, but he was controlled chaos and whatnot. And then there's going to be a new, whoever the police force is, I think is a police force that is run by vigilante. I mean, Regina King is a vigilante. We see her with the costume, but the vigilantes then become actual officers. They're not just fighting crime around the law. They are now the law. Maybe they have their own particular divisions and their own troops and stuff. I don't quite know. But the TikTok thing was interesting because I'm wondering how much of that ties, because, again, there was a whole thing in the original about tying into the atomic clock, 2 minutes to midnight. How close are we to nuclear annihilation? Is this then once again going to be history repeating itself and getting back to that point? But now it's more of a doomsday cult. I don't know what's going to happen. It's Damon Lindelof, so I don't know how much faith I have into that. But I'm pretty sure at Comic-Con we're going to get a lot more information, and I'm pretty sure they're going to screen the pilot, and I do hope that I am there for it. Can Liam Neeson be forgiven? He already has been. He was announced to star in a new movie. Just the other day, a press release went out talking about that, and I'm already like, well, everyone is already forgiven and moving on from Liam Neeson. So that's on that one right there. I think that's probably for the best, to be honest with you, because what he said was stupid, but it was like, you get what he's talking about. You get it. You absolutely get it. So I think a lot of people are very much like, well, I think they're going to wait and see. It's going to come out. It's probably going to be pushed back for a while. And Men in Black International is going to come out. I don't think we're going to see Liam Neeson do any press work for that at all. I don't think he's going to see anything. But he'll be fine. He'll be fine. Let's see here. Okay, hope Indy 5 Days of Future Past, the story where Crystal Skull never happened. Nah, sorry, bro, it happened. Thoughts on Sex and the City 3? I don't have thoughts on Sex and the City 1 or 2 or the show. They were bad. I didn't care for them. It wasn't me. It's not for me. I didn't like them, but they weren't for me. An intellectual Amazonian explorer in the Lost City of Z. Oh, you're talking about Robert Pattinson. Yeah, I'm not saying he's a horrible actor. I'm just saying it's like people are going to have trouble seeing him as anything other than Edward Cullen. That's the whole point. He hasn't done anything really high profile. He was in the movie called like Remember Me, right? And it was like him and Like it's his story and he's trying to reconnect with his father. It's like a romantic story, but where his father's got an office in the World Trade Center and he literally dies on 9/11. Like that's where the movie ends. Right? So it's like, people only know him from Twilight, and that's going to be a big thing. Let's see. Watchmen show was ghostwritten by M. Night Shyamalan. Dr. Manhattan is actually Rorschach. What a twist. You wonder what Alan Moore feels about the new series. Alan Moore hates everything. I think we just know that at this point. The joke is, I wonder how Alan Moore feels about this. Alan Moore hates everything. So it's clearly not going to change. So any movie where Liam Neeson uses a firearm will not get my money. Yeah, but like every movie with Liam Neeson like uses a firearm, so I'm still gonna watch it. All right, Good Times is his crowning achievement, where he plays a New York hood who results to robbing to bail his brother out of prison. Okay, all right, well that could be something to check out. Will Indy 5 have Shia? From what I understand, no, but it is getting a new writer, so maybe. So I have to wait and see. Is Chris Pratt open to Chris Pratt taking over as Indiana Jones? Yes, I am actually. But who was another person that was kind of brought up? It wasn't Chris Pratt. It was somebody else that was kind of talked about. I've always liked the idea of Nathan Fillion doing it. I always felt he was, if it not Nathan Drake, but that Nathan Drake fan film from last year was pretty damn fantastic. But I always would have thought that it would have been Nathan Fillion would have been good. So let's see here. The problem is that Liam has a huge fit over private ownership of firearms. The thing is, Curtis, the guy comes from Ireland. Their perception of firearms a little bit different than ours, given the fact that he was rolling around during the whole IRA bombing terror shit going on over there. So I think he's got a bit different of a perspective. That was his whole controversy, was about his perspective living in that era at the time. Is a very dangerous world, not protected by the Second Amendment that we've had here since not 1776. I think when was it doesn't even matter, but it's whatever. The whole point is that it's a bit different of a world that, that's where he's coming from. It's a different experience. Let's see. So we're almost halfway through the year so far. What's my favorite film? I know people probably want me to say Endgame, which is up there, but if I had to, I would probably say, like, so far, just from personal, Alita would be my favorite film so far this year. Adam Baldwin as Indiana Jones. No. I would totally, I would like to see Adam Baldwin do something like that. Here's the thing. I could see Adam Baldwin playing Sully in the Uncharted movies. How about that? I think Adam Baldwin would have the right amount of dry sarcastic wit that Sully would have. I know people want Bruce Campbell in the role, or hell, Stephen Lang was great in that short film as well. But I would love to see Adam Baldwin do something like that. Zombie by the Cranberries is a great song. Wasn't that that was at the very end of Mission Impossible. That was a song that played right before the end credits in that movie. Detective Pikachu was great. I really liked it, but I do love Alita quite a bit. So, who would I cast as Wolverine? Fuck if I know, man. I haven't even given that any thought yet. It's been 2 years and I'm still reeling over the ending of Logan. I don't want to think about anybody else in the role for a while. I don't want to think about recasting for a long while, but I still want Michael Chiklis back as the Thing. So, all right, guys, it's 11 p.m. I'm going to take off because I have to get some work done. If you guys want to jump over to the Discord, I will be in there for probably a little bit while I am working on all of this. And let's see. So I'm going to post the link. If you guys want to come on in, I'll be in the general chat for a little while. There's the link for that right there. And I'll be back on Monday night at the same time, 10 p.m. If you guys missed the show and you want to watch the replay of it, it will be up unlisted, but then I'm going to be linking to it on the website, 3bucktheater.com. And I will talk to you guys later. Have yourself a fantastic weekend. Go see John Wick Chapter 3. We'll talk about it on Monday if you guys have seen it. And have yourself a great day, and peace out.